Hey, everybody. Nice to tune in with you. I haven't done this in a little while. It's been a particularly busy period. Let's see if there's a way to not have to look at the inverted mirror that is my video. So, hi from High Points. Hi from Vegas. Hi, Christina. Patiently waiting for my return. That's a very sweet thing to say. Hi, Janice. Hi, Shelley. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Emma Farmerman. Hmm. Mary Rose, Mary Roses from Arizona, Florida, Boston. Nice. Good to tune in with you all. I need to be paying attention to the European time zones as well. And my friends in Australia, I've got a number of one-on-one clients that are in Europe. There we go. Hey, a German. Wonderful. Hi from Germany. Hmm. I've got a lot of good colleagues that I work with in Germany. Good. Yeah, I don't know the timing. I always forget the time zone stuff. Yeah, so welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to read a piece from the Tao, and maybe we can sit together for a moment. Maybe we'll sit together for a moment, and then I'll read a piece from the Tao and say a few words, some spontaneous pieces that come up from that. And then I'm just going to kind of open it up to individual questions. It's not too long ago that I did the monthly forecast reading, and I feel like we might as well just hop into some people's individual questions and see what comes from that. Maybe there'll start to be a theme, and we can go a little bit deeper into it. But thanks for being here, everybody. So, if you have the option to take a pause for just a moment, wherever you happen to be, maybe it's good for you in this moment, maybe not so much. But we'll just kind of go inward. You might let your awareness drop down into the sensations of your body. Maybe you're coming from work, or you're on a lunch break, or maybe you just finished a yoga class or your own meditation practice. Maybe there's been some bumpiness recently. Maybe you're feeling really fluid, but just noticing what the weather patterns are for you in your body in this moment, and embracing what's here. So maybe the textures are feeling comfortable, maybe they're a bit more choppy, but seeing if there's a availability to create some space for what you're noticing, and maybe even a quality of softness or a gentleness with yourself. And we can also begin to include the resource of the planet beneath us. There's a very large structure beneath your feet, beneath your sit bones. Just notice if your body is capable of letting yourself be held just a little bit by the support or the resource of the planet. And then maybe bringing some of your attention into the heart space, into the chest cavity. And as if you were listening to a really subtle music, like a very subtle sound, and you wanted to listen with all of your body, all of your nervous system, to see if you can tune in, like, tune into the space of your heart. It's like a gentle listening and attentiveness. And maybe there's just a numbness there or a tension. Maybe there's a depth or a quality of warmth there. Just resting your attention and your attunement in the heart space for a moment. Now, bringing your attention back into the space together. I'm just going to read. I've had this Tao Te Ching since I was maybe 19, 20 or so. It's been through quite a journey with me. I'm just going to read one of these pieces. We'll see if there's anything that wants to be said from there. And then I'm happy to start answering some questions and pulling some cards. Hey, Sherry. Welcome. So, without opening your door, you can open your heart to the world. Without looking out your window, you can see the essence of the Tao. The more you know, the less you understand. The master arrives without leaving, sees the light without looking, and achieves without doing a thing. I'm going to read that first stanza again. Without opening your door, you can open your heart to the world. Without looking out your window, you can see the essence of the Tao. So in some ways, this is speaking to the book of life that is imminent, which means that by waking up in this particular moment, we can completely illuminate ourselves. We can completely come into conversation with the vast information network that's always here. Sometimes you may have heard like the Taoists or say that you can learn the entire universe by just focusing on a blade of grass, a single blade of grass. And this is the understanding that there's a inherent oneness to reality, which means that if I open myself in this moment, if I begin to open the meridians of my energy system and I begin to open my capacity to see and my capacity to deeply feel, then I'm tapping into that network of oneness, which means I don't have to go out into the world. Of course, we all should go out into the world, but it means that I don't have to necessarily go out searching for wisdom or searching for the information, because when I plug myself in, the information of the universe is imminent. It's here. It's right here. Similarly, I don't have to go to find a way to peel my heart open or find somebody that's the perfect match to unlock the key of my heart. I can trust open into allowing my heart to open in this moment. And it would only happen in this moment. Even if you went out somewhere, it could only possibly happen in this one absolute moment. The more you know, the less you understand, right? The knowing, I've got it. I finally understand how it works. And now I can put it over here. I have the understanding. I know what a tree is. Tree is this plus this plus this. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's over here. Right? We take information and we make it static. I know what it means to be in love. Now I've got my definition of love and it will stay right here. I know what it means. I know what is required of somebody named Colin. Colin is this type of person. I do this. This is who I am. This is my identity. Turned into a block. Versus the knowing that is a streaming intelligence. The knowing that is a living, moving process. And in order for there to be a streaming intelligence, right, you plug into the intelligence of the divine. In order for it to be a streaming intelligence, we have to let go of the hard blocks of knowing. This is how it is. This is how it's always been. You need to be able to let those loosen up, and then the more you know, the less you understand. And then there's understanding, there's gnosis. Okay. There's a couple of Las Vegasers here, huh? Hi, Rosalie. I'll see what you're saying there in just a moment. Seal and Leban. The master arrives without leaving. I'm here. Sees the light without looking. Inner light. Achieves without doing. What is it that we're trying to achieve? Often we're looking for something to plug in to a sense of lack. Once I do this, I can feel at peace. Once I achieve that, I'm there, I made it. Okay, well, what is this piece inside of me that feels empty or hungry or unavailable? The master achieves without doing. There's a sense of rest in life. So you said, laugh out loud, do we really know? It goes way beyond human mind's perception. Absolutely. Yeah, even without getting into multi-dimensionality, getting into these pieces, we think we know something because we've seen it and defined it. But to know something on what layer? Am I knowing it here? And what's the difference between knowing it there and knowing it from this center, or from my roots, or from my soul centers? And to really know something is to allow it to be a movement, right? As soon as we go, I've defined it, it stops. But to know something is to consistently refresh. I'm seeing it fresh in this moment, in this moment. That's giving it the freedom to continue to be and to flourish and to move. Okay, that's probably enough of me talking. Yeah, non-attachment indeed. So the way that we've done this in the past is if you have a question, you can put it in the chat, and I'm probably going to do it just based on the order that it comes in. And so put your question, is that how we want to do it? No, time out. Don't put your question in the chat. raise your hand as an emoji, some kind of emoji that says I want a reading. And then I'll select you from that and then put your question in the chat. So go ahead, if you're wanting some sort of reading, you can put like a raised hand or like something specific, and that will be the indication that you would like a chat or you would like a reading. All right, Sherry, that's very funny. Okay, Sherry. So Sherry, if you could go first, you'll write your question in the chat. I'm going to start tuning in with you. And for other people that are still wanting a chat, yeah, go ahead and continue to put your stuff down, and I'll choose the next person after that. But yeah, at some point we'll talk also about the physics and metaphysics of doing a tarot card reading. Like, what's happening? Like, what am I tuning into when I start reading the cards? All right. Yeah, that's very Socratic, Seal and Leban. I'm probably saying that horribly. Laugh out loud. I know that I don't really know, and that's okay for me, right? That was the Socrates move. So moving forward, I'd like to understand my path. Great. So the big piece here for you, Sherry, is coming forward in the form of our Queen of Wands, which is like getting in touch with your primordial creative capacity, like your magnetism, like your deep creative self. But that only happens as a result of embracing the parts of yourself that have been exiled or the parts of yourself that have been pushed away. Often I'm reading a really lovely book by Robert Shaw right now called um, I think it's the Dark Twin or the Wild Courting the Wild Twin. And often this is something that happens to us. We've heard it like the concept of the shadow or the dark side of ourselves. And it's the parts of ourselves that weren't nourished by our culture, our family, the loved ones in our life, and we felt like we had to push them away because the only way that we could actually survive in relationships was if we got sort of rid of these parts. So often the black cat here, which is representative of the shadow, is a amalgamation of the parts of ourselves that we had to let go of and maybe some ancestral trauma, things that have been passed down to us, and then parts of the collective trauma. And this card is really speaking. The reason I'm putting so much emphasis is that the second card that's showing up with it is our judgment card, which means that there's a really strong calling around developing a certain capacity of wholeness in yourself, Sherry. It's like, what are these and the journey of integrating these parts is like a grand journey. It's our willingness to start to ask questions. I don't feel fulfilled in my life right now, or there's something that's missing. And the adventurer doesn't just go, well, okay, I guess I'll go watch TV, or like, oh, whatever, maybe someday I'll figure it out. The adventure gets really curious. Where's the feeling coming from? Where is this piece that feels like it's missing? And if I sit with it, if I go spend some time in nature, or I start to cultivate a deeper um, uh, uh, exploration in my meditation practice or in my prayer practice, and I start to get really curious about this piece that feels like it's missing, right? And that starts to open up and unlock. The point being, Sherry, is that there's something that's really calling you. I wouldn't be horribly surprised if you're if you started to make your prayer for life to bring you what you need in order to grow into this really lovely aspect that's trying to come forward, that you would start to be confronted a little bit. Life would start to rub up against you and go, hey, look this way. Hey, look this way. Right? I'm sure that many of you have had that experience where synchronicities start popping. You're like, gosh, this same pattern is happening again. Or it's the weirdest thing. There was an owl that hooted at me in a dream about this particular thing. And then I ran into that same quandary later on. In other words, it's probably not my place to tell you what the next phase of your growth is, but it could be my job to point you towards making that a ritual of your prayer or a ritual of your yearning, is to say, I really want to deepen myself. I really want to go further in my life. I really want to feel the next steps of my evolution. Show me what those pieces are. Bring to me the things that are going to encourage me to grow some more. Yeah. Jeez, Sherry, it's a lot going on here. Like, we've got our Queen of Wands, we've got our Judgment card, which these are both very magnetic, creative cards. This tends to sort of show up when we're on a threshold. We're being called to something deeper, but there's sort of a wobbliness. We don't quite know how to make that happen yet. And then we've got the Lover's card, which is saying it's not going to be a normal, traditional approach. It's going to be something unique to Sherry. It's going to be closer to the essence of who you are in its expression, which means it's a little bit risky. It's a little bit more stepping out into the wilderness of life, right? Being the one that forges a path, being the one that is listening to your the inner song of your soul and following it and walking with it. Yeah, really powerful cards showing up here. Yeah, that's beautiful. You're ripe with possibility. And that possibility, so these are the other two cards that came out as the Queen of Swords in conjunction with man, the light. It's wild. Um, the Queen of Swords in conjunction with the Hanged Man, which means that the mental piece that wants to get it and understand it and control it and know what the next steps are is being asked to flip itself over. It's being asked um, to let go of what it knows and look at things from a new perspective, from a new way. Yeah. Sherry says, I feel so much possibility, it's overwhelming and intense. Yeah, great. Life is meant to be pretty alive, you know, and breathe. Breathe into that intensity and give the piping of your nervous system and your energy system, like encourage yourself to stretch a little bit. Feel the intensity without curtailing it, making it like, oh, I have to do something with this, right? When energy is moving through us, flowing through us, then it's just creative potential. When it's too much, our pipes are too tight, then we tend to kink it off, and then it becomes thinking, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Like that. When we soften and we open and we start to learn to tolerate some of that intensity, it becomes the evolutionary impulse that moves us forward. All right, thank you, Sherry. I hope that's helpful. Lovely to tune in with you. It's very funny the way this is the moment to do the reading. You're welcome. Okay. So next on our list is Lusty Lips, which I believe your name is Christina. And you said, how do I approach? So yeah, go ahead. Feel free to write your question. What do I see for you? I feel like what do you see for me? I feel like I'm in a dark place. What's up, Kelly? Yeah, so some of the reason that it feels like a dark place is that you've been in need of protecting yourself recently. So there's kind of a quality of having to pull back and in and sort of hunker down for a little bit. And this can happen when things feel a little bit too intense or there's changes that are happening or it can also be that like something from the past is surfacing like a trauma or a tough experience has come to the surface. And so you can see here we've got our 9 of Wands where he's kind of created a little prison for himself because he's feeling a little beat up, right? Like he looks like he's been through some stuff. And so that tends to be that, it's great when we create some like a cocoon for ourselves, sometimes that's really necessary. And it's helpful to meet that in yourself rather than being like, I need to get out of this dark place. I gotta do something to like make something shift. It's like to honor that there's something in you that's needing some rest and some quiet. And unfortunately, when we're in a cocoon or we're in, our 9 of Wands sort of thing, it can feel a bit safer, but it also feels disconnected. So it's also helpful to begin to sense, okay, this is what it is, right? Right now, I'm in a bit of a cocoon. It's a little dark in here. It's a little musty. It's a little weird. This is what it is, though. I can't pretend like it's not. And fighting with it just exhausts me. So how can I say yes to what's here right now How can I give some acceptance to what it is that my nervous system and my life is needing in this moment? But just by saying yes to that, accepting it, and then also noticing if there's a yearning in there to connect. It can feel like a loneliness, or it can feel like there's a need for some different kind of nutrient, different kind of connectivity with the world or with people out there. Now, welcome, Mary. Now, this is not going to be a very long phase. Whatever this particular piece is, and I guess we could look a little bit deeper into why it is that there's this sort of darkness that's here. It may not matter because it's not going to last very long. There's going to be an impulse that feels like a good impulse to get moving again. And that's going to feel pretty good too. You're going to go, okay, now I know that this is the next step. This is what's going to move me forward. Some of what I'm seeing here, though, is that part of the reason that you're a little bit pulled back, or there's a little bit of like a protective quality, is that you've gone down some paths, you've sort of put energy and attention into things, and then felt like they kind of backfired on you, or they felt like they kind of tripped you up in some way. So those are things to look at in yourself, to look at, okay, do I trust that I can persevere when something comes up and it's challenging? Let's see, I'm going to look a little bit into the near future for you. Yeah, some of what I'm hearing here is how important it is for you to be willing to reach out and ask for help, Christina. Be willing to, like, when things are challenging, or even when things are not horrible, but you can tell that you could use a particular kind of support, to reach out and to be willing to receive some of that support, so that you're getting a little bit of extra momentum to move things forward. This is important because there is an older something that's in your system that learned that when things were hard, you couldn't rely on others. You couldn't rely on maybe your family system, or you couldn't rely on certain situations. So you learned how to hold it yourself. Your willingness to reach out and find some helpful support. We've got a repetition card here. We've got our judgment card again. Your willingness to start to experience what's happening in you in a different way will enable you to begin to move into a different kind of balance, a different kind of equanimity. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen by you just doing it on your own, but you being willing to open up and receive some support and some help will help balance things out mightily for you. Again, it's okay that things are a bit sticky or a bit dark. Like, say yes to that, but start to bring in some resources that help you, because as that balancing moves forward, as that balancing begins to happen, the availability, you'll start to feel momentum click back on. You'll start to go, oh, okay, things are moving again. And you'll be able to see the horizon more clearly. Okay, what needs to happen next? What do I want to occur next in my world? All right. Thanks, Christina. I hope that's helpful. And thank you so much for your question. Lost my job, can't pay my rent, there is no one to reach out. Those are big things. Yeah. I'll just say a couple of things. Maybe it's not available friends and family, but there are resources that often come from, depending on where you live in the world, there can be resources that can support you. But this is a time to really be willing to see, where is it that I can get some extra support for myself? And that's what's going to help change this particular pattern for you. All right. So let's see here. What's next? Who's next? Yeah, okay. Janice, looks like you were ahead of the curve, ready to put in there. just going to clear my cards really quick. How will I know that opportunities that present themselves to make a move are in alignment with my soul and not just my human wanting to make a move? That's a great question. Let me read that out again. It's a classic question on the spiritual path. How will I know that opportunities that present themselves to make a move are in alignment with my soul and not just my human wanting to make a move? I have a hard time being still enough to see. Yeah, so not being still enough to see is precisely it. In other words, the instrument that is our body mind that can become more and more refined so that we can sense and see and be more deeply aligned with our path is when it's agitated, then yeah, it's really challenging to tell, is this the right way? Is this the right way? Am I doing it the right way? Because it's mixed up, the signals are mixed up. So the way that you can know is that you start to get curious about this this challenge of sitting still, right? What happens when I sit still? What starts to occur inside of my system? Right? Some people are like, I just don't like sitting still. I just don't like it. It's like, well, why? What's occurring in you that is making you feel like I can't sit still? I need to jump from one thing to the next thing. And often what that is there's some like held anxiety or like held fear in the nervous system and in the energy system that we don't know how to let go of it. So when we start to get still, our sensing starts to settle down into that anxiety or that fear, and we go, "Oop, no, thank you." And then we settle down again, and we go, "Oop, no, thank you." And again, often what's needed is to be able to continue to breathe and to be with what's there. You might use some polyvagal strategies or some other types of self-regulating strategies that can help begin to loosen up some of that fear. Usually, it's helpful to actually spend time with somebody that can help you navigate that. Because often that fear comes from when we're very young. And when we're very young, we need our parents' nervous systems to regulate things. And so if we've got some young fear in us that wasn't able to be held by our parents, then it's kind of like frozen in time. And thinking about it from here, from our adult self, doesn't really get to it. We actually need somebody else that has a nervous system that can touch this and start to create safety so that it can begin to let go and then integrate. In the meantime, something that might be helpful for you is like before making a decision, I'm going to create as much safety in my body as I can, which means often it's like I have to make a decision and we're spinning, 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 and we're like, I'll be able to relax once I make the decision. Really, the move is, can I create some peace and some ease in my body, spending time in nature, doing some meditation, exercise, um, loving kindness towards yourself, working with a therapist or a somatic therapist, somebody that's got a very deep embodiment practice, and creating that safety allows for more of your energy to move through your system, and then you're capable of discerning more clearly what wants to happen next. I'm curious what our German friend has said here. Lusty Lips, a change is starting to believe that the universe slash God has your back, allowing to help in ways you can't imagine. We're never really alone. Yeah, so that's also beautiful, which is like beginning to rebuild the sense of trust in life. And so that's something that we can do in terms of how we're creating some affirmations like I trust in life. Um, I can trust the love of the divine. I can trust that life is in support of me. There's that piece. And then there's also like being in the body and comforting the places that are afraid. Because they're not afraid because of what's necessarily happening around us. They're afraid from something in our past often. And putting your hands on your body, breathing in your belly, doing some deeper breathing, and beginning to bring some safety and some peace into yourself so that the next movement that shows up isn't coming from that fear, it's actually coming from a deeper sense of peace and ease. So, Janice, is that helpful? Is there more that you would like me to look into for you? Let's see. I think I might need to move on just so that I can get to more people because I'm going to have to cook a dinner a little bit. So Janice, I hope that's helpful. Maybe we can touch a deeper base later. Maybe you can send me an email or something. I'm always happy to give more information on this and even give recommendations in terms of books to read and that sort of thing. So let's see here. Aliana. Maybe that's somewhat close. Aliana, if you've got a question, I would be happy to pull some cards for you. Janice says, most helpful. Look at you all. Everybody's so organized, ready to send their question. So Aliana says, I feel a stuck energy psychic link from a long-term love that I can't seem to let go of. Can you give me some advice on why this connection is keeping me so stuck and any advice to move forward? Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So a couple of things that I just want to name, which would be there are some energy hygiene practices that you can do just to sort of clear your energy system a little bit. And even you can do some cord cutting and that sort of thing, just to get closer to sort of brass tacks. In other words, sometimes we've got a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's like some of it is because of this psychic link, which I sense. And then some of it is like what gets stuck around the psychic link. And in order for you to get really clear about what it is specifically that's going on there, it can be helpful to do some cord cutting and some energy clearing. Well, the first thing that I think is probably pretty obvious is just that it was a significant relationship and it touched some younger parts in you. So sometimes we have love connections that touch parts of ourselves that didn't get a chance to fully grow up, and it can feel really good, and then it can feel really not good because it's like touching a part of ourselves that still has somewhat of a wide open lens to life and to the divine, and so it can feel like a really deep, rich connection. There's a quality of like shock or surprise that I see connected with this relationship as well. I don't know if that was like an actual violence or just emotional violence, or if it just was painful in the way that it shifted. Just to say, it's really clear that this wasn't meant to be a relationship that lasted forever. Like it had its particular components that needed to happen for you, and then it moved on. It's this is a beautiful test actually for you. Test isn't the right word. This is a beautiful growth point for you because that young part that this relationship was in contact with, which is where this particular energetic cord still is, it's touching this young part. That place was a place that felt like it needs somebody else in order to feel okay. It needs somebody else in order to be safe. Now, those pieces, those young pieces that actually do when we're 4 years old, we actually do need somebody we need another nervous system. But in a relationship, it's not so good for those pieces to get entangled. And so this is a beautiful growth point for you where there's an availability for you to begin to really stand in your own power in a different way. And like this is our 9 of Pentacles, and she's like, hey, take them or leave them, I'm going to be okay. I can be with somebody, I don't need to be with somebody. I am deeply and richly connected with who I am and with my own power and with my own wisdom. And the way that you're going to be able to ultimately disconnect this psychic link is by feeling the feelings that show up around you standing on your own, you feeling the feelings around, not around the belief that you need somebody else. And it may be that at this point you've totally grown beyond that, but this particular piece in your energy and in your nervous system has not gotten that lesson just yet. And so for you to begin to fully inhabit yourself and let go of this particular piece that's still connected, it's almost like you got to go in and feel that energetic connection, and don't fiddle with trying to like get it out of you or trying to like get him to disappear or like, do an exorcism on yourself or something like that. Go right to the feelings that come up around being connected with him. For me, it's like, ew, it's a little icky. There's like a little bit of like an ickiness there. There's also a little sorrow layer, and then I feel fear. So when I tune in with you, those are the qualities that I feel with this particular chord. And when you start to feel those pieces and you're able to like embrace them and let them fully come in, Janae, as you let those begin to come in, that particular it won't have anything to stick to anymore because you're basically going, oh, I actually have enough room to feel this sadness. I actually have enough room in myself to hold some of this sorrow. And that's like you teaching your nervous system that you can stand on your own. So that's one piece. And just to say that the reason that I'm seeing this as like a really beautiful growth piece for you is that on the other side of you beginning to undo this, and there's a quality of shock in this as well, like shock in the nervous system, like like a fear shock, that when that gets digested and you move forward, then there's this quality of balance that's going to just stream in. It's going to flood into your nervous system. Like you'll literally feel a rebalancing from left to right, and like your nervous system gets to soften in a completely different way. All right, Eliana, I hope that's helpful. Thanks for the question. That's really deep, rich. It's a rich one. Eliana says, so grateful. So I probably have time for maybe 2 more people. Lynn, I see what you said down there, and I'm happy to sort of like tune in with you. But first, I'm just gonna clickety clack up here. Oh yeah, okay, so you're next. Gotcha. So I don't have a question. I'd just like to see what comes up through you for me. Is there a message for me? Great. Hey Tamara. Good to see you. I mean, sort of see you. Good to be seen by you. I don't know. Through you for me. Yeah, so some of what I'm feeling is like the desire to be appreciated for the work that you put in, for like the diligent work that you're putting in somewhere, or maybe that you've already put in. Like there's a bit of a yearning to be appreciated for that and seen for that. It wouldn't surprise me all too much. It doesn't have to be the case, but it wouldn't surprise me all too much if this is something that your mother also carried, like a desire to be seen or a desire to be appreciated in a particular way that you carry as well. And there might have been something there between you and your mom that is like a static or like a sadness that was hard to put your finger on. It's going to be important for you in the coming months to refine where it is that your attention is going, how you're using your energy, because things are going to feel a little bit more fluid. What I mean by that is like you're not going to be as clear about where your attention needs to go or what's happening next. Like things are going to feel a little bit looser, and you're going to want to make sure that you're listening to where your attention should go more precisely and more moment by moment. Yeah, something is trying to balance itself out in your life, and it could have to do with you being very hardworking or very diligent, but that some of that has to do with wanting to be appreciated or wanting to be loved through the hard work that you're doing. And while that makes sense through the eyes of somebody that got loved by doing good work or by working hard, ultimately, there's something that can be digested around us to put you in touch with your inherent lovableness, the quality of um, your inherent value, that you don't have to do anything or be anything to be loved. And that can come about by like loosening up where you think your attention needs to go and just starting to get curious about where is it that things are feeling like they're actually calling me and that I'm getting reciprocal energy brought back to me. Yeah, I actually see a good deal of like a different quality of feeling safe in life that's available for you. Well, that's exciting. Anyways, thanks, Lynn. Thanks for the question, and thanks for just being here. Really lovely to connect with you. Yeah, Lynn says, interesting. Thank you. All right, so let's see here. I think this might need to be our last one for this time around. I'm happy to do this again. Let's see here. I guess we've just got Patricia after that, so we'll see if we can get you in there too, Patricia. But that might need to be it. So it looks like, man, Seal in Leben. I hope I'm saying it right. Yeah, I see it there. I just, yeah. So after shedding a lot of conditioning, what I thought my path was, I had to let go of, especially work. What is really in alignment with who I really am and what my soul wants to express? It's a great question. And what a shame it would be for me to tell you that versus you become it, right? Like I'll pull some cards. I'm happy to pull some cards and to see what wants to come through. But this is for sure something for you to get to discover and walk into. And yeah, I wouldn't want to take that away from you. I don't even know if like I can probably tune in with the qualities that you're bringing into life that like your essential self is coming through with, but how it is the artistry with how you weave that into your life, the artistry with how you bring that into your life. More than one, there's some error message. More than one ingestion is using primary URL. Send one stream to the primary ingestion and one stream to the backup. I don't know what that is. You don't know which direction to go. Well, let's take a look at it. I'm curious what some of the directions are for you, but I'm just going to tune in with you to begin with. You've got good higher competency, so like touching into these transpersonal realms. And I feel the quality of your heart, that your heart and your head have begun to really weave together in a good way. There's sort of like a diamond quality to you. Like you've got like a really nice clarity that's there. And the place that's integrating is down into your solar plexus, which means like how it is that you move and act in the world is trying to like find its way into alignment with your soul. This is like slow down. It's okay to move slow. Like some of the things that need to open in order for you to really walk your truth into life are going to require you to move slow and begin to unpack them because they're deep and they're rich. Right? We each come into life with certain things that we need to like unwrap as part of our gift to the world, and we can't rush through that process, right? That's what I mean. Like it's not like it's like you're gonna like I could just be like, oh, you're gonna be a magazine owner. like, like no, there's these different layers of who you are that you're gonna slowly begin to peel open that are connected to your soul essence, but are also connected to injuries that you share with the collective and that are part of your process of discovering yourself and bringing innovation into life. So slowing down is definitely important. It's interesting. There's like a quality of like polarity that's healthy in your system. Like you being able to weigh things and feel into different possibilities and options, and the willingness to get a bit dirty, like get a little bit rough in the way that you're exploring different ideas and different perspectives is what ultimately helps you begin to carve out the definition of yourself. Like you start to get the complexity starts to build a stable base for you. It's definitely going to be important for you. You're somebody that's going to walk your own path in your own way, and being able to feel like comfortable or assured even when other people say don't do it that way is going to be quite important for you. Yeah, I'm curious how that lands so far. And yeah, I'm going to need to hop off here soon. I'm curious how that's landing so far for you and if there's more refinement. And then, Patricia, I see what you've written here. Yeah, for sure. I'll pull a few cards for Eli. Seal. Anything else, my friend? So I'm going to put my focus on Patricia now. I'm curious if there was a recent loss of some kind, Patricia, or something that felt like a particularly challenging like loss or ending of some kind. I see the qualities of like overwhelm, like you have lots of obligations, lots of different, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Lots of obligations, lots that you're having to take on, like there's a lot of responsibilities. Um, yeah, I'm sorry for his loss and for your loss. Yeah, so those are big pieces that are there. So some of the there's a quality of disorientation that can happen when somebody loses a parent because that's part of the nest. It's like part of the way that they start to orient themselves. Children start to orient themselves is based off of the nervous systems of their parents. And so the quality of him feeling like a little lost or a little bit disoriented and something that something that creativity is really helpful for Eli. Like finding a creative outlet, finding a place where he gets to express himself. And excuse me if himself isn't, yeah, okay, son. So express himself precisely the way that he needs to, is precisely his way of expressing himself. Because some of the esoteric qualities that are sort of displayed by the father is like the sword, the ability to like know where one is going and to follow through and to go with that and to like find oneself, to go into the world and to find oneself. And he can start to work that by cultivating some of his creativity. So that might be something like finding finding creative outlets, finding ways of getting his expression out there. I think that it's definitely helpful if you have the means or the capacity to maybe work with a counselor of some kind because there's like a quality of that might be considered like a depression that could start to manifest through time because his anger isn't finding a place to go. His anger isn't finding somewhere where it can like land and push up against and feel like it's allowed to like come out. So try that. Yeah. Well, as many people know, if you there's a lot of counselors and therapists that not so great, and B, it takes time to find somebody that's like a good place. Um, I'm obviously biased with people that do somatic work or NARM work or somatic experience work. Some of the people that I'm connected with that are part of the Academy of Inner Science are really deep practitioners. But okay, so he's 20. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we can tune into anything else here. That creative piece feels important because there is like a disorientation. Um, yeah, it's like his fire is trapped. And so it's like he doesn't know where to go with his fire. Maybe something like martial arts, like kickboxing or kung fu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, something where he can work some of this stuff out of his system with people that are safe and that can help him cultivate a relationship with his aggression. There's a strong studentship in him, but it needs to be connected with his path. In other words, it's not going to enliven him to be studying something that's just kind of the rote way that people study things. Like it's got to be connected with something that is actually um, his thing and like his way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mentorship would be huge for him, which would mean potentially working with a counselor or a therapist or a somatic worker who is a man, or doing some martial arts of some kind, something that gets it moving in his body. Um, for some reason, I feel some like pieces around like the Wim Hof people, like the Nordic freeze your butt off in an ice bath people. Anyways, I think that's what I have for you right now, Patricia. Feel free to reach out to me if you want some more recommendations. It's definitely an area that's close to my heart is young men and the complexity of growing up in this world, particularly if somebody has been, lost a parental figure. You're so welcome. I'm just gonna check here. Shelley Cooper, thanks. Very insightful messages. Even though I didn't have a question, still gained wisdom. Thanks, Shelley. Nice to see you. Nice to tune in with you. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thanks for tuning in. See you again soon. Thanks so much.